Hello, East Denver. How are you today? It's a pretty great location. This is a change from last year, much bigger. So today what we're going to be talking about is Daos. My name is Dennison Bertram. I am the CEO and co-founder of Tally.xyz. We are a DAO tooling platform that allows you to build tools and DAOs and communities in a really scalable way. Today, I really want to talk about a lot of the things that we've learned over the past year of working with the preeminent DAOs in the ecosystem, because while things are working, we can do better. And we have some really great ideas on how we can do better. So first of all, if you're not familiar with the Governor Framework, the Governor Framework is now created and run by OpenZeppelin. It was originally created by Compound as a part of their efforts to decentralize their protocol. And since then, it has become a standard contract and a standard framework that is available in the OpenZeppelin library. It started off with one DAO, then another adopted it, and today we can firmly say, confidently say, that Governor has been a success in decentralizing financial protocols, layer 2s, and other projects looking to build really scalable DAOs. A fantastic ecosystem has been created around Governor, from the platforms that use it, platforms that support it. This is a very open ecosystem. So we have a large number of people building here, bringing a large number of innovations to this ecosystem, which is one of the reasons why it has been such a success. It's an open framework that people are able to expand upon. To give you an idea of what success looks like here, the Governor Framework now has over $5 billion in assets managed by the communities using the Governor Framework to manage them. Currently, over 1.3 million addresses actually hold Governor DAO tokens. But it gets a little bit wilder. Historically, in total, over 14 million Ethereum addresses have had access to DAO governance at some point via the Governor Framework. And there have been over 5,000 proposals made, right? This ecosystem has gone from 0 to 1 to millions really fast in a very robust way. But we're not done. I gave a talk a couple days ago about the successes of the Governor Framework, how much we've managed to do, how far we've come on it. But this talk is a little bit more about what's ahead of us. What sort of challenges still remain? Who's working on solutions to these challenges? What might these solutions look like? It's pretty common when we talk about the Governor Framework to talk about token-weighted voting, right? Token voting. Sometimes these things seem like bad ideas. It's true, there's opportunities for plutocracy, where wealthy individuals accumulate a large amount of voting power because it is a one token, one vote system. But that's not the only thing there. That doesn't really address what's happening under the hood. Of those 1 million plus token holders, less than 10% of them are actually registered voters, right? So we have this incredible number, 1 million people, million addresses that can vote, but they're not registered to vote. Only 10% are registered to vote, right? Delegation, one of the innovations of the Governor Framework, where basically users can have tokens and say, look, DAO governance is important, but I'm a busy person. I have DAO tokens from all the DeFi protocols. I don't have time to read proposal after proposal and participate. In the Governor Framework, you could delegate your voting power to someone else. You can say, you know what? This person over here, they're more responsible, they're more knowledgeable. I'm going to delegate my voting power to them. This is important. Right? This is important because some DAOs are really complicated organizations that rely upon their voter base to do very complicated things. Adjusting risk parameters, updating the fundamentals of the protocol. In the case of L2s, which are secured on L1 via the Governor protocol, it's actually managing the state and security of an entire another blockchain using this. So delegation really unlocks an enormous potential for people to expand the ability to participate by actually deciding to say, I have a representative in this ecosystem, it's this person, they'll vote for me. But this isn't a silver bullet, right? Delegation is a huge unlock, but when it's done right. You have situations where it can be difficult to get voters, the same way it might be difficult to get them to participate and vote on something, it might be difficult to get them to actually delegate to someone. Sometimes once they delegate, it's difficult for them to hold their delegate accountable, right? It's difficult for them to remember, oh hey, once upon a time I got an airdrop, I delegated that airdrop to this person, and that person has done a bad job since then. Maybe they didn't even vote, right? On our platform, tally.xyz, you can look into the voting history of delegates, some of whom are quite famous, and sometimes they don't show up. This is a graphic that we put together about ENS. This is an ENS vote where there's a little bit of criticism saying, oh, delegates always vote yes, and there's no decentralization because there's only a small number of large voters that swing the vote. We thought about this, we looked into it, and if you see here, we kind of have this graphic on our site that's we're a little bit famous for showing how people vote using this bubble chart. But what we did was we broke down to say, okay, normally you would just see these big bubbles. And we wanted to know, what do these big bubbles actually represent? Because sometimes what happens is people think, oh, these large voters are deciding, right? Token voting doesn't work because it's plutocracy, because you have these large voters. Well, when we look into it, each of these small dots inside is another voter that has delegated their voting power to this person. So when we look at this visualization of how people are participating in the vote, this isn't 30 people deciding the outcome of this vote. This is tens of thousands of people deciding the outcome of this vote, right? And that's something that's really important. It's important to find a way to make sure these tens of thousands of people participate in the way that makes sense for them. In this case, in ENS, they delegate to these individuals who then vote on their behalf. And when you look, you can see what composition of the voting power looks like. In this case, FireEye's DAO has several large voters and then many small ones. Lefteris, who's a very famous delegate across the ecosystem, is almost entirely composed of small delegates that trust him as a participant in the ecosystem. Airdrops are another important tool for the initial decentralization of communities, right? This is the initial moment when a protocol or a system distributes their tokens, whether this be all at once, throwing money on everyone, or some sort of liquidity mining incentives or some sort of structure. And it's important for these to be done right, because the airdrop is kind of this funny carrot and a stick kind of moment, right? This is when a protocol says, hey, we need to be decentralized. We're going to give away this governance token to everyone, but when they're done right, they kind of do this thing where they say, okay, here's free money, delegate to do it at the same time. So when people do delegations as part of airdrops, they actually can take this moment, and this is something that ENS did, to educate the participants of their ecosystem of their responsibility of being part of this system. This is really important, right? That's the first time that you set the standards of how your community is going to interact, how your community is going to participate, and it's really key to make sure it sticks, that you make sure people understand this organization has a constitution, we have a goal, we have an aligned objectives. By participating in this, this is what we expect of you. When you are in the forums, you treat the other delegates and participants with respect, right? These are important moments for the long-term success of organizations when it's done right. So what can be done? I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the really cool things that are coming and some general ideas. I probably won't go too deep, but in the presentation I did on Thursday, I think it was, we went into some of the actual teams who are building some of the really awesome things that I'm going to talk about here. But to solve some of these problems, there's innovation on delegations, right? I mentioned delegation is this like fundamental innovation of the governor framework, but it's got some flaws to it, right? And the flaws deal with humans getting bored or not participating or misaligned incentives, right? Ideas here for how to fix this, we're working on ecosystem elections, right? In the real world, you go out, you vote, there's a lot of rigmarole around the fact that we're gonna do an election, people are gonna participate. In DAOs, every different organization has a different time scale. Maybe someone's working on it, maybe someone's not. We need to have ecosystem-wide opportunities for delegations, right? This is the creating of an ecosystem-wide election process, a delegate drive to say, hey, reminder people of Ethereum who participate in these protocols and who guard the security of our state, now is the time to come back and review. Is the person who you're delegating to doing a good job? Are the things they voting on the way that you would have expected them to vote on? Other things are smart delegations, rules-based delegations that understand maybe the voting power decays over time to create more incentives. And professional delegates. This is something that we see happening already in the maker ecosystem, where we actually pay delegates. You might say, what do you mean pay delegates? Well, some of these systems are really complicated, and you really need to understand how they work. The people who are doing the high-level work in protocols are incredibly overworked. Maker actually pays their top delegates because it is a full-time job to govern a $1 billion liquidity protocol, to govern an L2, to ensure that it's safe under all circumstances. And by actually paying, professionalizing some part of the delegation system, you actually create an incentive structure for folks to hold people accountable for their work. Hey, you're paid $300,000 a year. What did you do? I could do that better. That should be my job. And then you see the market economics of that person being able to turn around the ecosystem and say, I could do a better job because of A, B, C, and D. And next election, if you don't think I have, delegate to someone else. Ensuring fair airdrops. Early on, the airdrop idea was, hey, did you use this protocol once before? Here's some money, go vote with it, right? This idea has become professionalized by Sybil folks, people who create an industry out of trying to game airdrops. If you go through the ecosystem today, you'll notice activity is way up, but it's not all organic activity. You go into forums and you see people just saying, love this project, love this project, love this project, it's awesome, all gaming the system for an airdrop. We need better Sybil resistance. Recipient reputation. There's a lot of people who have been working for a long time. How are they participating? What's their reputation? And making sure we actually align our participants. I use this joke when I talk about airdrops quite frequently. Let's say I'm riding my bike, I'm in a car accident, I go to the hospital. Do I deserve to get hospital governance tokens because I provided my body as liquidity to the organization? No. I'm not qualified to run a hospital, even though I've used it. So there's an expectation of understanding who are the aligned participants. Flexible voting. This is a new one. It's being built by the ScopeLift team out of a grant from Uniswap and Gitcoin. This is actually a system that expands the way we count votes on the smart contract level, and it opens up an enormous number of opportunities. We can let people vote with LP tokens, right? A lot of folks who hold governance tokens actually have them locked in other smart contracts and cannot vote with them. This expands access to them. Exchange voting. There's a lot of people that hold their votes on centralized exchanges. The exchanges can't vote in their name, and the voters can't vote themselves, and that takes a lot of voting participation out of the system. Flexible voting allows us to build trustless means of folks that do use centralized exchanges to participate in their governance. And smart contract voters. This means allowing smart contracts to cast votes. And this may seem, okay, interesting, smart contracts casting votes, but actually what it opens up is the ability to do L2-based governance, where we vote on L2s where it's much cheaper and we can have a wider range of participants. Shielded voting, types of privacy-based voting where the result is settled on-chain. Zero knowledge proof-based voting, where we can actually do fully private, fully off-chain, unlimited scalable voting, and all we need to do is provide a simple, small proof to be verified on-chain at low cost of the outcome of a vote. So I have literally 16 seconds left, so I've timed this perfectly. If you are interested in launching a DAO, maintaining your DAO, keeping delegation fire alive, rotating delegates, any of these things, please get in touch. We are tally.xyz. We are helping many teams out there, and we would love to help you as well.